The galaxy had never seen a fleet like the one approaching Earth. For nearly 3 centuries, the Varkessian Dominion had ruled through fear, and when they moved their military forces, entire civilizations surrendered before the first shot was fired. Their warships were larger than cities, their weapons could crack planetary shields, and their soldiers had conquered species that had fought wars for thousands of years. So when the Dominion announced that Earth would be given one final chance to surrender, the Galactic Council expected humanity to panic. Instead, Earth went silent. The message had been simple. Your species has violated Dominion law. You have 72 hours to submit, disarm, and accept occupation. If you refuse, the Dominion fleet will arrive. Every government on Earth understood what that meant. They had watched the Dominion destroy the Karen Republic in 6 days. They had seen entire orbital defense networks disappear beneath waves of plasma fire. They knew the numbers. The Dominion had sent 12,000 warships toward Earth, including 3 planetary assault carriers, 87 dreadnoughts, hundreds of battle cruisers, and thousands of smaller attack vessels. Against that force, humanity had only a fraction of the military power. The Galactic Council assumed Earth would call for allies, but no emergency alliance request came. They assumed humanity would surrender, but no surrender message came either. Then, 12 hours before the Dominion fleet entered the solar system, humanity transmitted a single sentence across every known communication network: Earth will defend itself. The galaxy laughed. News channels called it the final act of a desperate species. Alien commentators mocked human courage, saying courage without power was simply another word for stupidity. But something strange happened inside the solar system. Humanity did not mobilize hundreds of ships. Earth did not launch thousands of fighters. Instead, every military vessel returned to port. Mars shut down its orbital fleet. The moon defense stations went dark. The colonies stopped transmitting. The solar system became almost completely silent. To the Dominion commanders, it looked like fear. Admiral Varric, commander of the invasion fleet, stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched Earth grow larger on the tactical display. "Where are their defenses?" one officer asked. Varric smiled. "There are none." Then another officer pointed toward the edge of the system. "Admiral, we have detected a vessel." The bridge became quiet. One ship was moving toward them, alone. No escort, no fighter screen, no support fleet. Just one enormous vessel traveling directly toward 12,000 Dominion warships. The ship was unlike anything the Dominion had ever encountered. It had no bright military colors, no ceremonial markings, and no obvious weapons visible on its hull. Its surface was black, scarred, and covered with layers of armor that looked almost primitive compared with Dominion technology. The Dominion immediately scanned it. The first scan failed. Then the second. Then the third. "What is that ship?" Varric demanded. "Unknown, Admiral." "Weapons? Unknown." "Crew? Unknown." Varric stared at the screen. "Transmit surrender instructions." The message crossed the void. "Unidentified human vessel. You are ordered to stop immediately. You are surrounded by the full military force of the Varkessian Dominion. Any hostile action will result in the destruction of your planet." For several seconds, there was nothing. Then the human ship answered. "Message received." Varric waited. "And?" the officer asked. The human transmission continued. "We are not here to surrender." Varric laughed. "One ship against an entire fleet?" The human voice answered calmly. "You misunderstood." A pause followed. "We are not the fleet." Then every sensor aboard the Dominion flagship began screaming. Something was happening beneath the surface of the human vessel. Its armor opened. Not like a door, but like layers of a machine unfolding. Hidden weapons emerged from inside the hull, hundreds of them, then thousands. The Dominion fleet suddenly realized that the ship had not been built like a conventional warship. It had been built around weapons. Its entire structure was a weapon system. Admiral Varric ordered every ship to fire. 12,000 vessels opened fire at once. The darkness between the stars became a storm of plasma, antimatter, kinetic rounds, missiles, and energy beams. For several seconds, the human ship disappeared completely beneath the barrage. The Dominion commanders celebrated. They believed the battle was over before it had begun. Then the fire cleared. The human ship was still there. Its armor was glowing red. Pieces of its outer hull were missing, and several sections were burning. But it was moving forward, slowly, relentlessly. The Dominion fleet fired again. The ship continued forward. "How is it alive?" someone whispered. The answer came from the human vessel. "You wanted Earth to surrender because you thought we feared death." The voice was calm. "We don't." The ship accelerated. Then it vanished, not cloaked, not hidden. It simply disappeared from the sensors. A second later, one of the Dominion dreadnoughts exploded. Then another. Then another. The human ship had entered the fleet. It moved between the massive vessels at impossible speeds, firing weapons at distances so close that the Dominion could not react. But the strangest part was that the human ship wasn't targeting the strongest vessels first. It was targeting communication relays, navigation systems, shield coordinators, and command ships. Within minutes, the Dominion fleet lost synchronization. Thousands of ships suddenly received conflicting orders. Some turned left, others turned right. Several collided. Human missiles appeared from impossible angles, striking engines and weapon systems. Dominion fighters launched, but the human ship released its own fighters. Tiny, brutal machines that moved like predators. They didn't fight conventionally. They attacked sensors, engines, communication arrays, and weapons. The Dominion had expected humanity to fight like every other civilization they had conquered. Instead, humanity fought like humanity. It adapted, it improvised, it learned. Every time the Dominion changed tactics, the human ship changed faster. Admiral Varrick ordered the fleet to surround the vessel, but the human ship deliberately allowed itself to be surrounded. Then it activated something hidden beneath its core. Every Dominion sensor went blind. For exactly 17 seconds, there was no information. Then the darkness vanished, and 23 Dominion warships were gone, not destroyed, gone. Their crews later discovered that the human ship had used a gravitational weapon to collapse a temporary spatial corridor beneath them, dropping the ships into a region of distorted space. The Dominion had never seen anything like it. "They built that weapon during the war?" Varrick asked. His science officer shook his head. "No, Admiral." "Then when?" The officer looked terrified. "Before the war." That was the moment Varrick understood the truth. Humanity had known the Dominion was coming. Earth had known they were outnumbered. Earth had known its conventional forces could not win. And instead of building a larger fleet, humanity had built one ship designed specifically for the impossible situation they were facing. The ship was called the UNS Horizon. It had been secretly constructed beneath the moon over 17 years. Every major nation had contributed technology. Every human colony had contributed resources. Scientists from rival countries had worked together. Engineers who had once competed against each other had shared discoveries. They had built something the galaxy had never considered. A warship designed not to fight a fleet, but to break one. The Horizon didn't need to destroy 12,000 ships. It only needed to make 12,000 ships unable to fight together. And it was working. Dominion formations collapsed. Dreadnoughts began firing at targets that were no longer there. Supply ships fled. Fighters returned to carriers that had already been destroyed. The massive invasion fleet was becoming a collection of isolated battles. Then Varrick received another message from Earth. "Admiral, withdraw." Varrick clenched his fists. "Never," the human commander replied. "You have lost 40% of your fleet." Varrick looked at the tactical display. 40%. In less than an hour. "We still have thousands of ships." "Yes," the human replied. "But you still don't understand." Varrick stared at the horizon. "Understand what?" The answer came quietly. "We sent one ship because we wanted you to see it." Varrick froze. "See what?" The transmission ended. Then the solar system lit up, not with weapons, with ships. Thousands of them emerged from hidden jump points around the Dominion fleet. Human warships appeared behind moons, inside asteroid belts, beneath orbital shadows, and even from the far side of the sun. The fleet Earth had supposedly not possessed was suddenly everywhere. The Dominion had been tricked. The Horizon had never been humanity's only ship. It had been bait. Earth had allowed the Dominion to believe the Horizon was alone, because they wanted the Dominion fleet to commit completely to the inner solar system. Now the trap had closed. Human ships surrounded the invaders. The Dominion fleet tried to retreat, but the jump gates had already been captured. Their escape routes were gone. For the first time in 300 years, the Varkessian Dominion faced an enemy that did not fear them. Admiral Varric looked at Earth on the display. He finally understood why humanity had remained silent. They weren't waiting for help. They were preparing the battlefield. "Open a channel," he whispered. The communication officer obeyed. Varric transmitted one final message. "Humanity, what are you?" The answer came from the Horizon. "We're the species you should have left alone." Varric ordered a retreat. Thousands of Dominion ships attempted to escape. Many surrendered, others were disabled, some were destroyed. The mighty fleet that had entered the solar system, expecting an easy conquest, left broken, scattered, and terrified. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Dominion lost more than 8,000 ships, humanity lost hundreds, but Earth survived, and the galaxy changed that day. The Galactic Council had always believed power came from numbers, technology, and superior weapons. Humanity taught them something different. Power could also come from preparation, cooperation, and the refusal to accept that defeat was inevitable. The Horizon returned to Earth 3 days later. Its hull was burned, its armor torn apart, and half its systems were offline. Millions watched as it entered Earth's atmosphere. There were no celebrations aboard the ship. The crew was exhausted. Some had lost friends, some would never walk again. Captain Elias Ward stood on the bridge and looked down at Earth. Someone asked him why humanity had risked everything with one ship. He answered, "Because sometimes the enemy needs to believe you're weaker than you are." Then he looked at the wounded vessel around him. "And sometimes, you need to remind the galaxy that one human ship is already too many." From that day forward, the Galactic Council changed its military doctrine. The Dominion stopped calling humans primitive. They stopped calling them reckless. They stopped laughing when humanity spoke of defending itself, because every civilization in the galaxy remembered the same image: 12,000 warships approaching Earth and one human ship moving toward them alone. And whenever someone asked what happened next, the answer was always the same. Humanity didn't win because it had the biggest fleet. Humanity won because the enemy made the oldest mistake in warfare. They counted human ships, but they never counted what humans were willing to do with the one they had.